Hey everybody, Adam Davidson, RadCast for Monday, January 23rd, 2017. Monday already, can you believe it? Me neither. Now, we're going to do something a little different for today's RadCast. On Sunday mornings, I preach and do the message and do the sermon on Sunday mornings because I'm the pastor of Portage Free Methodist Church. It's what I love to be able to do. It's a great joy and privilege. As I'm speaking, people text me. And so they'll send a text to my phone as I'm going. And if I am on top of things and I'm able to work it in, I'll maybe bring in their comment or their question or their thought or their observation. And it just makes it a bit more two-way sort of communication. It's kind of cool. And so yesterday, for whatever reason, I was getting texts, but I didn't feel it in my pocket or something. I just wasn't, like I kept forgetting about my phone. So there are all kinds of sort of unanswered, and when I say sort of, I mean completely unanswered texts that came in yesterday. So I thought just for today I would try to throw a couple of responses in because I don't want anybody to feel left out. So if you don't go to PFM, just so you know, yesterday we were talking about tithing. If you do go, but you weren't there yesterday, we missed you. And if you do go and you were there, perhaps this will make you feel like I love you, because I do. I really do. I don't mean to forget anybody. Somebody did text me in first service and say, I think you meant to say tithe on gross, not net. And I was talking about how someone had earlier asked the question, when we tithe, do we tithe on our gross, which is our paycheck pre-tax and pre-whatever, or on our net, which is the money that we actually take home? And I made the argument that you tax on gross because you get benefits for the things that they tax you on, whether it's your medical or your taxes or FICA or whatever, because for example, taxes, the roads we drove on to get to church that morning, the schools we will send our kids to today, we get benefits for these things. And so I mixed up those two terms, and so I was glad people were looking out for me, gross and net. I'm not a math guy, I play keyboard. Somebody else texted and said, whose responsibility is it to tithe from child support? The person earned it and is paying it, or the person receiving it? I think what they mean is, do you give a tithe on child support? It's a great question. And it perplexed me for a few minutes. And then I thought, well, when I say a few minutes, I mean since yesterday. I thought, well, you get a benefit for this child support, or to put it another way, it is a provision from the Lord. And the idea is, and I don't think this person's looking for a loophole, I know they're not, but if we have the choice of should I tithe on this or not, and well, they already did, or should I just see it as a blessing from the Lord and surrender 10% to Him for His glory? I don't know. I think we should always err on the side of generosity toward Him because He's generous toward us. I'm sure there's a better answer or a more complete answer, but that's just sort of what's coming to my mind right now. Yeah, it's really, we live in the United States, at least where I live. We think a lot about taxes and paying them and, quite frankly, avoiding them if we can, if there's a way to legally avoid them or illegally. So we sort of put the same mindset on tithing, and we think, all right, Lord, 10% of what? And tell me what exactly is tithe sheltered. And I don't think anything is, but that's tough. It's tough. It's a good question, though. Somebody said, don't understand what is bond. Bond on earth is loosed in heaven. Yeah, Jesus said, if you loose it on earth, you'll loose it in heaven. If you bind it on earth, you'll bind it on heaven. The super short answer to that, as far as my understanding goes, is that when we are citizens of the kingdom of God, we have to remember that the kingdom of God is not up there in the sky, but that it's here and now, that Jesus came. And so his brothers and sisters, the citizens of this kingdom, have the authority and the power that Jesus had when he was on earth, which deserves its own. That's amazing. If that's true, and it is, that's amazing. Somebody said, you don't understand the bad news. If you don't understand the bad news, you can't appreciate the good news. I think I mentioned that in one of the services, but that's true. The gospel makes no sense to a lot of people. And why should it? I mean, when you go up to somebody and you say you're a sinner, they say, well, you're a fundamentalist, shut up. That message, that means very little to our culture. And so if we keep just kind of pushing the gospel, if it's not a solution that nobody needs, what good is it to them? Now they need it. We know they need it. I need it. You need it. We need the gospel. But if you don't, it's sort of like this. It's like going to Walgreens and going to the health and beauty section and looking for an ointment that fixes a problem you don't have. You know, oh, I've got chapped lips. No, you don't. Well, I'm going to get some chapstick anyway. Why? It doesn't make sense. That's the same thing with the gospel. Oh, you need the gospel. Why? Well, because you're a sinner. So are you. Everybody is. What? What do you mean? Who gets to decide who is sinner? You know. So anyway, so I think the job of the church isn't just to preach the good news, but to sort of explain, proclaim the situation we're in. That resonates. You know, if you say to somebody, sin is a problem, you know, depending on their background, they'll sort of take it or sort of dismiss it. But you can say, you know, this world has a lot of pain in it, or this world has some darkness in it. Oh, almost everybody will go, yeah, start there. Somebody said, how does tithing work if you're on SSI? Great question. If you get an income from Social Security of any kind, should you tithe on that? Yeah, I think so. Because it's a provision, even though it comes from a social agency, it's still a provision. And again, not about finding loopholes, and I don't think that's what the person's asking, but I mean, it's been given to you, so we'd see it as a blessing from the Lord. Here's a great question. If God gave us time, shouldn't we give 10% of our time? I think he'd like that, actually. If we gave him dedicated 2.4 hours a day, man, how many hours would that be a week? Let's see, 14, like a lot of hours a week. I don't know. I think that the idea behind giving God our time is to see all of time as a gift from him that we give back to him. And I love what the psalmist prays. He says, teach us to count our days that we may gain a heart of wisdom, which is saying, God, help me to understand the limited time that you've given me so that I can make the most of it and all of it to be for your glory. We can't really part out the day and say, I'm going to give God this hour and then the other 23 are mine and I'm going to just go and just do my own thing. I think a total surrender to the Lord means every minute is his. And so, Lord, how do I make the most of it? So, oh yeah, a couple people texted me or talked to me yesterday about the movie Silence by Martin Scorsese, or not, you know, that directed by or whatever. So it's about missionaries in Japan in the 1800s. Somebody said, I still suggest that you go see it, even though it was kind of upsetting in some ways, because it kind of runs with your theme on being missionaries. Now, when I say missionary, I don't mean majority world country necessarily, not exclusively, but I mean all of us are on mission. So, wow, this is a long RadCast. I better get going. Tomorrow I'll be back to normal, but I hope this helps today. Listen, have a great Monday. Thanks for watching this till the end. Look at you, using your time as you are. I'll end with a joke. Nope, no time. Sorry. Bye.